Eric, who do we have joining us today?
We have Lloyd and Natasha Jones.
Wow.
Hello.
That's how you pronounce their names. That's amazing.
We went over in the beginning because we mispronounced it.
Eric always does this bad bit where he mispronounces
I mispronounced the
everyone's
name on purpose,
Yeah.
but I always keep Keegan guessing whenever I'm going to do it. So this time you guys get it correct.
That's right.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And you guys are comic writers?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're Midnight X Comics on Instagram?
That's
Or
correct.
just Midnight Comics?
We're Midnight Comics, but on Instagram and Twitter, we're Midnight X Comics.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Your name was taken.
Username was taken.
Great. So how did you guys get started with comics and yeah, tell us a little bit about Midnight Comics.
Okay. Yeah. So in the beginning, essentially we individually really liked writing. I wanted to get into game design when I was younger. And a friend of mine, me and a friend of mine, a neighbor at the time, we wrote this really massive, like kind of almost this Heavy Rain-esque zombie game. Before Heavy Rain came out, we called it the Pandemic. Foreshadowing. But yeah, it was about in 2008 we wrote it, and I was like, oh man, and I have some epic dreams, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But I like to write stories where it wasn't like the kind of conventional like the good guy always makes it type thing. Like the character that you create in the game can die, and the story keeps moving because that character's not the center of the universe. Rick Grimes disappears on Walking Dead, but the rest of the Walking Dead universe still, minor spoilers, I guess, for 2 seasons ago, but the story still continues on without them. So I kind of like that idea where it's just like, grow to love these people and keep pushing. But I've rambled. I'm sorry.
Wait, who died on Walking Dead? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Rick Grimes, the main character.
Wait, he died?
No. He did, well,
he disappeared.
Yes. A helicopter came. He was told, quote, they said, quote, he's a B prop. This is spoilers, okay? Major spoilers.
Major spoilers.
I mean, I haven't seen this.
So in the comics, he's still alive, but in the TV show, he's missing until the movies come out.
There's going to be movies, is what I was.
Yes.
Yeah. They're making
three
movies,
right?
3 movies, and he's going to star in them.
But have they started making them?
Yes, but COVID.
Did they start filming? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's how they're going to finish off the series. Is instead of 5 seasons of the movie, A La Community, it's going to be 10 or 11 seasons with 3 movies.
Wait, what? Has there been 11 seasons now? Are they on the last season?
They're on the last one now.
They are. Okay. Are they doing the jump into the future like the comic books?
They hard to say.
They already did that.
They did?
Well, yeah. They did like 2-3 time skips at this point.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah.
But she has a whole nother background of writing.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I've also been writing probably longer than him since elementary school. I started with poetry and then got into, I actually have a couple books out. So I have a book and a novel I'm working on, and then a poetry book. And so that's where my background comes from. But then we also both have been reading comic books since we were kids.
Nice.
Nice.
Watching anime, reading manga since we were like 10 years old for me.
Right.
Younger for you, I believe.
So when did it all click where you guys were like, yeah, let's work together?
Well, this is...
Story.
Huh?
Is it the favorite story?
What, the dream?
Oh, I was actually talking about Naruto. When we finally said...
when we started talking about... so we like to do like debates and what ifs and stuff. And so you guys watched Naruto, right?
Yes.
Okay. Honestly, to us, we were like, they lost that match. There's no way they went and beat Madara, beat Kaguya. Like, Naruto's been fighting for days. This, all the factors within that war, we were like, no, here's what really happened. We had this whole like what if idea, which we would have posted more about it because other people, but it made us feel better. All of Boruto, everybody's stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi. That's period. Like everybody's stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi, and what's actually happening now is that the Kara organization is actually people trying to break them out of the infinite Tsukuyomi via karma and stuff, which of course, since it's an old spoilers still for Naruto and Boruto, right? But instead, so Boruto is actually everything that's happening there, everybody's stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi because everybody technically got what they wanted.
Mhm.
You know the whole Kashin Koji, who he is, so oh yay, he's back, right? So whenever they meet up, everybody's around. Hinata got Naruto, Naruto became Hokage. Everybody's dream came true. The only factor that could change that is an outside source. I'm sorry, rambling. So we had a theory, and we were like, you know what? Let's make our own story. We have all these ideas about everybody else's story. Let's do our own.
We're tired of it has to be the hero always wins. Why does the hero always have to?
Are you a Legend of Korra fan at all?
Yes.
That's the number one argument I heard was that Korra should have lost at the very end. That she shouldn't have won the final battle, because the whole point was when they talked to the Red Lows, they said, "Well, what happens if she doesn't come back?" And then the Red Lows then someone else will take her place and fight them. It's not the end of the world. So
right.
That was the big one. I never heard about the Naruto one. This is the first time I heard this theory. So
I need to watch it again because I want to see Korra once. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. Like, I read manga, I read comics. I still think Avatar and Korra are probably the best series, just honestly, of all time.
Man,
we don't need to get into that argument now. But
I just thank you for including Korra in that. That's all.
right.
I think Avatar is better than Korra, but I think Korra is also solid though too. I think Korra, I think it was just different. I mean, Avatar is about a man learning how to become an avatar. Korra is a avatar learning how to become a person. Is how I look.
I like that. Yeah.
Keegan only reads Western comics, so Keegan's just shaking his head and
No,
nodding.
I mean, I watched Sword Art Online. That was my favorite, but I haven't gotten. I'm lame. I haven't gotten into the other.
Said just smile and wave. Just smile and wave.
I'm so good at like pretending I know what you guys are talking about. I'm like, but when I'm that meme, where all the like algebra symbols are coming out of my head.
Oh no.
Here's a good one we can wrap it back around. Another thing is we didn't want to do DC Marvel type things where it's like, hey, that character died and now they're back.
No, yeah, there's a permanence in our stuff.
Oh,
No Superman.
No.
No Batman dying and then he wasn't dead.
He was shot back in the past.
He was lost in time. That was the entire series. He was lost in time.
Since when? Since when is that the factor? Stop.
That's not how that works. That's not how it works.
I thought those were actually. Well, maybe they too was like when
they were good.
I liked that's why I liked them. Like it was good comics. So I'm like, storytelling wise, like the bigger picture, this is horrible. But these are solidly written comics.
Right.
So I can't complain.
Is that they're scared to go and move on.
Yeah.
What is your writing style like different? Because I'm sure you guys have to compromise, get back and forth, or is it in the way that you do improv where one way suggests something and they build on it, or is it a lot like giving back and forth?
I think we're more improv.
I think probably more improv.
And I actually love that
comparison.
That metaphor, that comparison as an actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an actress. Are you a professional actress? I saw that on your Instagram. Some of your videos are really funny.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in a upcoming play currently, and I have a couple other projects that I might be doing soon. So
awesome. That's so cool.
Is it weird getting used to doing in-person performance, after the COVID and everything?
I took a break during COVID from everything because we also have 3 kids here, so I was mostly focused on that. But I'm theatrically trained, so I'm definitely more accustomed to stage than camera performing. But and I also prefer theater. I enjoy it a lot.
I just meant just because I'm sure like because you theatrically trained, you're used to performing people. Now all of a sudden, like for a year and a half, you're just like, well, I'm in my apartment or my house. Can't really
I'm just gonna make TikTok and reels and stuff, and it's still weird to me. Those are still weird, but I'm trying to just break out the comfort zone and just do them.
Yeah. Eric and I perform improv comedy, in front of 5 people. Yeah. So when Eric was asking you, he was hoping you'd ask back.
Thank you so much for asking. Yes, I do perform. I'm actually at a show this Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, I do perform. I perform. I'm in Chicago. I'm not sure where you guys are. So
Atlanta.
Okay, yeah. I just did a small festival for the Playground Theater, and then I got a show at the Bughouse Theater this coming Saturday. So
okay.
Do you guys have an improv group or like?
So the two of us used to have an improv group, but then Keegan, had to get married and have a kid and have a life outside of doing stuff like that. So we haven't done that. We haven't done that in a very long time, just because.
Yeah, we're podcasting now. Yeah,
we're podcasting now. Is what we're doing. And
The best improv.
yeah, believe it or not, this was not all planned out. We did not have these questions like just prepared in the
as much
script.
as we should have. Yes.
Yeah, we should have sent you guys a script beforehand. Like, this is the script. Please answer these questions this way. Sound robotic.
One time I did an interview where the person wanted questions ahead of time, and it freaked me out because I was like, that's not what I do. I don't do that. We just kind of go. Yeah.
Well, also because if you guys want to talk about something, we're gonna let you guys lead. If you guys don't, we'll take back over and ask more questions. So
okay, cool. See, I like it's more fluid that way, right?
Yeah.
So let's get to we read a comic of yours, The Unbeloved. Is this your first comic or?
Yeah,
where is this?
That's our
flagship.
Yeah, that's our starter. Yeah. That was 2019 when that initially finished and got released. No, when we finished it, we didn't release it until August last year.
Okay.
But yeah, that's our first, little book. I sent you guys chapter 0, but we also have the other one, chapter 1 out, as well as chapter 2, part 1 about to drop.
Oh, great.
But yeah, that was I like history and religion. And so I guess a lot of the which you'll see a trend is like, what if they were in modern day, or what if we saw them? Right, like we see, in the Bible, we see in all these different various lores and stuff, these larger than life beings among the populace. Right now, what if their battles and just their appearances was something that we saw now? How would we react to it? What kind of stuff would kind of ensue from there? So, yeah, so that was kind of the mindset for that.
But not everybody has, larger than life powers. We have our Tony Stark's Batman as characters with no powers, just doing what they do.
Yep. That's where our love for history and stuff starts to pop in, and all that good stuff.
And your love of space and science.
And space.
And what was how did you come up with Unbeloved, and when did the project start? Sort of walk me through that.
Let's see. So the project really started in 2019. I had the idea. So there's these two Shinto beings, Hiroko and Awashima, right? Which not to give spoilers. All right. In the lore, there's not a lot that was talked about them. Hiroko was born, he had no limbs. He grows up to be a fisherman named Ebisu, which I don't know if you guys caught how I rectified that in that first issue. So Hiroko becomes Ebisu in Shinto lore, and he's the god of fish, being a fisherman, if you would. And then again, Awashima was just kind of a deity that was born and never talked about. So he was like, okay, well, let's make them something, right? So we pulled heavily from the actual Shinto lore when it comes to Izanagi and Izanami, but we said, okay, now once we get past them, what is the ramifications of the birth of their children on the world? Of course, we see what happens with them, but what are the ramifications of their birth on the world, and what are they going to bring to the table? Which you'll see more of as the story goes on, because the story is really about those two. But chapter 0, we wanted to lay the groundwork for, what's all throughout the world and what the line is that they're coming from.
Cool.
But officially it started in 2019. I was just like, you know what? We had a bunch of other stories ready, but this was the first one that we got an artist for.
Okay.
So,
how'd you get an artist?
Say again?
How'd you get an artist?
Fiverr, actually.
Fiverr. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Fiverr. We have met a lot of awesome people on Fiverr. And in this particular artist, I've talked to him numerous times about it. And he was just like, I said, you are definitely just the artist for this book. It's the same guy for all the issues. And he said he used to look to these stories of actually the Izanagi, the yokai, just the whole Shinto lore, and it was an inspiration for him. So I'm like, well, shoot. So he's really
awesome.
invested in the story. And again, some of the names are very familiar, Naruto and other manga and anime. It's just like these are popular deities that are reduced down to eye techniques, energy blast. Like, no, who were these characters, these godlike beings? And what if we saw the embodiment of them? What did they bring to the table in the real world? So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool that you found somebody who like knew what you were working
yeah,
with, you know? Yeah.
absolutely.
Did you go? Did you know how you were going to end it at the beginning, or what did you know how you were going to start it, and then try to get somewhere?
I can get a
He
very.
writes backwards.
I do write backwards, so I'll get the concept down. Like, I want to tell a story about this. Okay, what happens at the end? Get that down. And it's just like, okay, well, I'll lead up to this, and if there's any like minor changes, like, oh well, I thought of a new character that's going to be incorporated in. Okay, let's work in how they would fit. But this general ending, that's So at the moment right now, there's 42 issues planned for this. That's all just like main plot, main everything. But if there's something that kind of works its way in, oh, let's get a slice of life chapter in there, whatever, like that can be plopped in there. But main story, 42 issues, ending is done. Who lives, who dies, all everything is done. I have every chapter, a synopsis of every chapter outlined already.
Okay.
For most of these stories, really, but I obsess over these stories. I'll just be sitting there just thinking constantly and looking stuff up. And it's just like, all right.
Nice. What is your writing process? Did you write scripts before you started comics, or?
I was in IT, so I did a lot of knowledge-based articles. That's about it.
Nice.
But outside of that,
I mean, technically, the pandemic was done originally as a video
game strip. Yeah. So the pandemic that I mentioned earlier. Do you mind grabbing that binder just to show them really quick? Really quick for me.
I think that's a yes.
The binder is ridiculous. Okay. The crazy thing is we got it copywritten and everything, and we just never.
Oh man.
So one of these days, the plan is definitely to do that. There it is. There it is.
Wow.
There's the baby.
Wow.
That's massive.
Yeah.
That's a video game?
Again, like
that thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So we have all the chapters laid out. We have like, if you decide to go left instead of going right, we have like, you guys played Detroit Become Human?
No.
I've not, but
No.
I know the game. It's Heavy Rain, Keegan.
Yes.
It's
exactly.
These are zombie games or something?
Yeah.
No.
More,
But with right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
even more adult.
Yeah, they're scary.
It's
I get scared. I don't know what to say.
Well,
Lord of mercy. But no, it's so I didn't do anything with it, but still, like, that's probably my first. I used to dabble in poetry a little bit too, but that's nothing, but prior to, not really doing a lot of script writing. I did have intense dreams though, and that's where a lot of inspiration comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, just to be brief with it, when I go to sleep and my favorite dream to reference, because it's the shortest one. I got into a bar fight in my dream. The dude knocked me out, but I woke up in real life, grabbed a drink of water. I was like, all right, that was a good hook. I go back to sleep, and now I'm getting up in the same spot where I got knocked out at for round 2. So that is always this kind of continuation until whatever that scenario is over. And so, and of course, obviously, I'm able to remember them. And I'm like, well, some of it, well, I'll write it down, and that's a short story.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Does that continue for days at a time, or is that?
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Or weeks. Like, it'll be the same thing. Like, and the ones that actually suck is the ones where I go through an actual work day, and it's just like, because like I was a customer experience manager at Chick-fil-A for the app, and so I'm used to going through like the emails and stuff, and there's like familiar names, so I'll go to sleep and I'll do that, and it's like, because I'm seeing the same names over and over, it's like, okay, it feels like a real work day, and then the alarm goes off. I'm like, no, no, I just did this. No.
It's like a really bad Inception movie.
Yeah, that movie spoke to me.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, that's so interesting.
So, yeah.
Wow. Cool. So you kind of had written a video game. Was it different writing the script for a comic book script, or how did you learn like where to do that, or do you have like kind of your own style?
Internet, just learning how to format it, but that's about it. I don't have any like formal training doing it or anything of that nature.
Yeah. That's all I'm asking. What's your script look like? Is it like panel 1, panel 2, panel 3?
I'm just now really breaking it down like that because thank God the first guy the guy that does the Unbeloved, I didn't have to say, hey, panel 1 do this, panel 2 do this. It's like he got exactly like I would break up where the I would say here's the scene.
Okay.
There he's reaching for a spear. It said, da 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 da. Lady walks in the room, then the conversation starts. Izanami says, but panel 1, panel 2, that I didn't have to do any of that.
Oh, cool.
Now for the Tales from Midnight book, I did have to start doing that because everybody doesn't work the same way as the guy that does the Unbeloved does. So I was like, okay, now I need to start learning some more stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. So the manga artist could just do it. That's so cool. That's really cool.
Were you guys back and forth, or were you just like first time he sent to you, you're like, this is it? I got it.
Okay.
That was I mean, he sent the first page and I was just like, oh wow.
He's brilliant.
The crazy thing is, so I had gotten so I drew the character designs for Ebisu, Hiroko, and Awashima. And the guy that we were working with initially to get the rest of the designs, he got busy and some stuff. But then I was like, dang, I really want to start with this chapter 0 to set the stage. I don't have designs for Izanagi and Izanami yet. And he was just like, I'll do it. I'll just no extra charge. I got you. Drew it. Boom. Sends the first page. And I'm like, that's it. That's them. That's it. Keep going.
It's a good feeling. Yeah. That's a great feeling.
So.
Nice. And so this is a manga, obviously, your first comic, and this series is continuing as a manga. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How many pages are those? I'm just wondering.
55 each.
Okay.
And my hope is, of course, to eventually get to where we start doing the traditional volume style like they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where it's like 200 plus pages in there and stuff, which. Right, with multiple chapters and stuff in there, but of course, just starting out, didn't have the money to do 200 pages, and so just
why manga over comic books? Out of curiosity, like why did you choose to go manga instead of comic books?
We just happened to find the manga artist faster than the comic artist.
No, that's a good reason.
Did it fit the story better?
Say again?
Did it fit the story better?
Yeah, well, because the Unbeloved, of course, is taking place in Japan. We wanted to have the manga style specifically for that.
Yeah.
Right, and then of course, when Tales from Midnight, everything's taking place, or most of it's taking place over here. Mm-hmm. So we styled it in the traditional Western style comic. So that was the mindset.
Initially, we're going to have another.
We are going to have another manga series, yeah.
Will that take?
You were going to draw the other manga series, and you decided switch it over to
a traditional comic.
Traditional comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. I have a question. This is a very polemic and dumb question. Why does your snake have multiple heads?
So Orochimaru, right, is based on a deity in Shinto religion, and he actually had 7 heads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So remember when he fought Sasuke versus Itachi?
Yes.
So they pulled from the real version of Orochi in that scene.
Okay.
And so that's what he really looks like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's their Cerberus. Cerberus, 3-headed dog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Orochi, the 7-headed snake.
Yeah. Again, I hate to say this. I was an East Asian history major, and I spent most of my time in Edo, Japan when I was studying. So
okay.
Or not in Edo, Japan, but that's where I studied most in college. So and my history professor actually wrote most of his stuff on Shinto, so I probably should know this better.
Hey, fact check us, please, if you see something, because I need that's awesome.
Gerald Figal, he's a Vanderbilt University professor, and he wrote his dissertation on ghosts and Shinto.
Yes. Okay. And we're pulling heavy from that stuff. So
I mean, I recognize a lot of it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's that stuff too. I forgot, like, I just remember, like, why is that snake 7 heads? I'm like, Hydra or whatever. So I was thinking more, but yeah.
So page 17 in this has like the full color spread with a coming soon. What is that? What is that?
Yeah. Oh, this page right here?
Let's see.
No.
No. Sort of like a guy with a mask, puppet master pose.
Oh, yes. I'm looking on the screen. So she's one of the characters that's in Tales from Midnight.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, so what in this, there's 4 different stories going to be all wrapped up in this one book. And her story is one of them. That's Admani. She just stepped off to deal with the kids really quick. But that's a character that she's writing. I actually have no hands on, actually. That's her character.
Wow.
She does have fire powers. But the story for her is going to be more... She's terrified of the powers. I'll let her kind of expound on it a little bit more, but it's more of a... Nope, she's back. Hold on. I'll let her explain it then.
Apologies, children.
Yeah, children's stuff. All right. They were asking about Admani because they saw the coming soon page.
Yeah, it's a good time to transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I heard most of what he said. Essentially, Imani has powers, but she doesn't want to use them because of what happened. She had a traumatic experience, and so it kind of focuses more on her mentally than really her powers. And of course, we'll get through like that first arc, and she'll grow, and eventually we'll get to see more of her actually being able to use them more. But like in the first, technically second issue, since these are issue 1 in Tales from Midnight. The Tales from Midnight issue 1 is future. So we'll see her in the future, and then we'll come back to the next issue and see her like from jump, 17 years old, struggling, has these powers she's afraid of, doesn't know what to do. And then it goes into mental health / detective comic. Almost. She has to solve a mystery, essentially, of something going on in her hometown.
Nice. So talk to us about Midnight Comic or Tales from Midnight Comics, right? Is that the name?
Tales from Midnight.
Yeah. Okay, Tales from Midnight. Sorry about that.
I have a follow-up question about that picture. I assume the person in the background's the villain. Forgive me if I'm not. No, he's not.
Yes and no.
Yes and no, because he is so.
You're not really going to see him much of him.
Yeah.
He's like you see how it is in the picture.
He's like the
puppeteer or the boogeyman lurking in the shadows.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see him more in
future issues.
How to say?
In his story. There you go.
You'll see more in his story. But yeah, he's a more of a voodoo guy. And so instead of it being a mask, how his powers, I can give the backstory for his powers. So he was a kid kind of in the last leg of when voodoo was very prominent down in Louisiana, what have you. And what ends up happening to him is he gets seduced by a Soyukan or Luguru, if you would. So the whole history behind that is if they drain your blood, obviously you die. But in some off chance that you don't die, you also become one of them. But between his voodoo, dark magic, he would, and the Luguru abilities, what happens is when he activates his power, instead of having to paint the skull and stuff on or any stuff, those markings appear with a blue hue, the same way a Luguru would. And a Luguru or Soyukan is basically a French vampire werewolf hybrid thingy. So yeah, so he gets the strength of it without transforming into a werewolf or anything of that nature. But it allows him to dabble in some blood magic, some voodoo techniques, or more so in his voodoo techniques than he was previously. But he's going to be a very interesting character. No spoilers, right? But very, very integral character to this story.
Just the way it was done. Okay, cool. That was my question too. Is the answer to both of them was I know he was voodoo based, and you said he was. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so again, as transition more into that, so Are the 4 stories connected? Like, are they just, do they share a world, or just
No, they
separate?
4 detached stories. Yeah.
Cool.
Uh-oh, you froze.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
And,
There you go.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I'm back.
But yeah, all 4 of them are
That's
detached
just four,
stories.
Yeah.
We
call it the anthology comic with 4 separate stories.
Yeah.
From
Showcased in our roster, 4 of the characters from our roster.
Okay. Cool. And what's your roster?
Ooh. Okay. So we have a decent list.
Okay.
But in Tales from Midnight, I'm glad I commented. I almost rambled. I almost started a whole tangent.
I'm up for rambles, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So all right, let me hold on.
Oh, he's so ready. He's so ready.
So all right. So
He's like he's rolling up his sleeves here. He's like, oh man.
Right. All right. Here
Loosen
we go.
up. Yep. Story time.
So story time. So we have several different stories. So we have a story. We're working on like 9-10 different stories at the same time. We just write it as we go. Like, just when you get the inspiration for one of them, it's like, all right, this is the focus now. But round it back around. So we have a story called The Last Day. That's not currently in Tales from Midnight. That'll be in Tales from Midnight 2 sometime next year. It'll include, again, The Last Day will include some characters named Ali, Asima, Iabani, and Taro. This story, the easiest way I could say this without spoiling anything is it's a loose retelling of the Gilgamesh story.
Okay.
I'll say it like that. And so again, the great thing is you can look at those stories. So again, kind of like the Unbeloved, you can look at Shinto lore and you can be like, okay, I see where you got each one of these things from, but I can also see the difference.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So like you get to, towards the end where everything that's going on with Izanami and stuff, you're like, it didn't quite happen that way, but I see the connecting tissue.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
I'm coming back around because I had the list in front of me. In front of me.
Way, it's easier.
So there's this character, the Blue Morpho, who is going to be. He said it's okay to ramble. Okay, here we go. So in Tales from Midnight, like you said, let's start there. Start from Tales from Midnight. So the Blue Morpho is one of our stories, but what we decided to do to start that off, the prologue to her story, is we decided to use the Butterfly, who's the first Black superheroine ever made. And she got 2 issues and ended up in public domain obscurity. And we said, you know what? We can use that.
Wait. Talk more about this. When was that published?
In the 70s.
In the 70s.
It was actually a comic that came out in the 70s. And here we actually picked it up. We bought it off Amazon. We was like, you know what?
Oh.
Let's learn more about it. And she came out in the 70s. And in her universe, there's a characters Hellrider and the Wild Bunch. The guy that did Hellrider actually went on eventually to do Ghost Rider.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but yeah, they're so much like them. So like the first Blue Beetle, not Ted Cord, but the guy before him, he's public domain. So tomorrow Keegan can be like, hey, yo, I'm making a new Blue Beetle story.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
That
I didn't know like any comics heroes that like actually became public domain just because people usually fight tooth and nail to keep it or they'll just buy it up. I mean,
They actually doesn't even have to use that character because technically the Blue Beetle is public.
The Blue Beetle is public domain. But if they wanted to use the name of that, the first one that is public domain, they can.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. And so kind of like characters like Thor and stuff, right? There's Marvel's Thor, but then there's Thor. Like you can't copyright Thor. So they fall under, unfortunately, characters like her and several others just fall into that public domain space where literally anybody could be like, all right. And we met a guy at Atlanta Comic-Con who's also using the Butterfly as a character in his universe too. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like we can never be like, hey, that's ours. Much like Marvel can't say, hey, Thor's ours. No, not really. But you have a version of him that is yours. Right.
No one can use Marvel's Thor, but we can still use Thor.
Right. And so what we wanted to do, and it actually sets us apart from the other person that's using it, whereas they have an alternate universe of events that kind of happens, what we wanted to do is continue in the prologue. So like you could buy this off of Amazon, read these 2 issues, and then pick up the prologue of the Blue Morpho inside Tales from Midnight and go, oh, I see what you're referencing, right?
Nice.
So, but what helps for us is like, oh, there's a whole history now that you can research and look up for these characters, although this is still our first book, right? And so what we did, because eventually, sorry, dear. So the chick right here is actually the daughter that our story is mostly going to follow.
Okay.
But there's our design for the butterfly.
Wow.
So different, but it's
so
going to be the
interesting.
same. Yeah. So we wanted to be like, okay, keep that history intact. Go back and read that book. We're going to end the butterfly's story in the prologue and continue with our character. But the universe of possibilities that has been kickstarted by the butterfly can continue, and new adventures can come about through our story of her daughter. Because her daughter, again, is not a character in her book. So she's our character, but we just made this old public domain character the mother so that there's some history and we can keep that intact and hopefully build interest for people to go back and look at some of these old comics that were out.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. Anything to get that out would be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good story, too.
It's pretty good. And again, it was only 2 issues. I think each one of them were only 11 pages or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
This book is actually Hellrider and the Wild Bunch.
And some other stuff, yeah. But yeah, so she's more of a street level crime fighter. She's almost like the Batman in the out of the 4 characters that are here. Hand-to-hand fighter. She doesn't have any special powers or anything like that. Again, she's got gadgets or what have you.
She's good at making costumes, obviously.
Right, and good at making costumes. Yeah, so again, we follow the butterfly in this prologue, and her daughter's just a young girl at the time.
Nice.
But when we come out with the next issue, we'll have her. We'll start her off as a teenager and follow, kind of what's going on from there.
Also the Batman-esque character.
Yeah, and she takes after her mother and becomes the Batman-esque character. Right, gymnast. So got a little Dick Grayson in there.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's that. So the first issue that you get of the Blue Morpho in there is called End of an Era, which is the ending of the butterfly and then the transition into our story for the Blue Morpho. And we even decided to go with a let me see this one more time. I'm sorry.
Might even say a cocoon.
We even decided to go with a well, here's the cover for it on the inside. Right. So we kept her in black and white in her traditional outfit.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Again, showing this, right? Her story was in black and white. And then of course her daughter, our character, in color, right? With the little butterfly on the back. Her name's Yara Michaels. The mother's name is Marianne, and we kept this in black and white too. So
wow,
trying to keep it as close.
That's really cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, are each of these issues like the full like normal comic book length? Or are they shorter? Like
they're so no, they're not the 26 pages for each one. No. They are a little bit shorter.
They're about half.
About half
what a normal, except for the gray. Half what a normal comic book.
Yeah.
All in one book.
But when they come out with their individual stories and stuff, those will all be the traditional.
These are more. Like
this is more of an introduction, right? This book is more of an introduction into the roster, what they're about to be doing. Kind of like the chapter 0 for Unbeloved that I said. It's same thing. It's like we're laying the groundwork for where the rest of the story is going to be going.
Are they going to continue as like combined in one, or are they going to do one like each one?
No, each one they're going to have their own line of comics. So Blue Morpho will have her own 26-page issues. That'll be a running series. Soul, who's the next one that we'll talk about, he's going to have his own, and so on and so forth. And Admani, the one that we had the coming soon for thing. So all of them will have their own lines, but we figured this would be a good opportunity to just put them all in one thing so you can see what we had initially coming out. And whichever one, and kind of the hope, I think, is whichever one gets the best reception, that's kind of the one that we'll really first push and start with. But much like the Unbeloved, we have each chapter, a synopsis for those done. I think Soul, we have 5 issues done. The Gray, we've got 3 issues done. Blue Morpho, we have technically 2 issues done. And Admani, we also have 5 issues done. So we're it's just about getting the artists and moving forward.
Yeah.
Definitely the artists, because I have very, very specific things as what comes to the artist, and it's been hard.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I'm very, because of Edmani and everything that's in it, and how she relates to me, because Edmani is more based off of me.
Okay.
And so as a Black woman, I just really want a Black woman artist on this one.
Yeah. That
Like
makes
this
sense.
one in particular. Like the rest of them, whoever. But just this one in particular, I just really want a Black woman.
It's your baby, to use a metaphorical term, but you care about your baby and you want, like.
Unfortunately, in the art world, when it comes to sequential art, apparently we're unicorns because I can't find.
So
there's nothing to say about that. It's just it's not a good thing.
Well, and it's.
I'm sure I'll find someone when the time is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next character that's in Tales from Midnight is Soul. I'll show you. Oh yeah, she's got it. So he and I'm assuming you'll start to see a theme, right? So he gets his powers from the Egyptian deities Amon Ra, right? So of course they initially were two separate Egyptian deities. In this case, they're going to be fused, fighting against what's called the embodiment of chaos. His name is Isfet. Not going to get into that. That'll be the next issue. But essentially, one way or another, their essence and abilities and physiology, if you would, where he gets a lot of his strength and stuff from, they end up in him. Not their mind, just their ability.
So bringing back that whole, those greater beings.
Right. Those larger than life beings. How does that look if it manifests in somebody today?
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, without having the knowledge of being able to utilize the abilities, how could he tap into the power of these gods? Right. So how do you rectify? Okay, well, shoot, I can literally gather energy from the sun and redirect it and incinerate something. Like, should I be a hero with that? Like, what do I do with this? So that's kind of what's going to be going on with it, which he's not going to be stuck on what to do with his powers, stuff like that, like Admani is. But those are some of the things that I guess we both kind of like explore, where it's just like, all right, I got these powers. Do I want them? Do I care about them? Am I the traditional good guy with them? Those are kind of a lot of the stories. Am I going to do anything with them? He has more of a faster call to action that will make itself known in the book, but faster than Admani. But yeah, much faster. But you'll see in the initial issue, he has some run-ins with some of the monsters that he'll be fighting. So you'll be seeing a lot of Egyptian lore with that one. So he'll be facing off in the first one, one of the soul devourers from Egyptian lore. So it's like, okay, now you're dabbling with the flow of life and death, right? Like, okay, you're stopping the soul devourers from doing their job, which isn't necessarily inherently a bad thing. You're stopping death from its normal process. But and so all the deities that come in line with that. All right, rambling too much, giving stuff away.
I don't know about too much. Yeah, maybe getting
I expected like that it would be odd choice, like, well, our main character has stuff from Egypt, but then we're just gonna stop with that. Like, they're just facing like normal villains, like bank robbers, or whatever. Like, it'd be an odd word, like, choice. So, like, we assumed that like you would have inspiration from the rest for Egyptian gods as well.
And it's like, okay, oh my gosh, we see a soul devourer picking up a kid or something. You're like, excuse me, what is that? So yeah, like these monsters and stuff from these different lores and stuff, we're gonna start seeing just in Soul. You'll start seeing that pop up more. Next up is the Gray. She's my personal favorite character. She is a physicist.
She's our Tony Stark.
She'll be our Tony Stark. She's a physicist, and she's managed to create these. No, there's one right there. You want to grab that one?
That's the suit. I want the cover.
You want the cover? Okay. So is this, right? So yeah, sitting there working. Awesome. So she has these gauntlets, right? So what she's done, you remember that scare some years ago, right? About the Hadron Collider? It's like, oh no, it's gonna create these black holes, we're gonna destroy the planet, all the conspiracies and stuff like that. Now, imagine if you were able to actually create that and harness that power. What they were trying to do, right? But imagine there wasn't as big of a scare. We actually figured out how to harness the powers of a black hole in a contained unit, right? So what she figured out is how to do that. So she made these miniature particle accelerators that she wears on her wrists. And upon activating it, inside it creates a miniature black hole that can create energy. And of course, controlled bringing in some energy from it to continue powering it, right? But you know, she's like, oh, all the good we can do with this, right? There's a the effects for the blast that we'll have her do is based on, there was an accident back in the 60s or 70s in Russia. This guy, they were cleaning a particle accelerator essentially, and he stuck his head in it trying to clean it out. It turned on.
Oh no!
And he got blasted in the face by all the rays from it.
Wow.
Basically, it was a photon beam hit him right in the face. He survived. He suffered from seizures and stuff, but one side of his face didn't really age as fast. Like it was just like minor radiation stuff they dealt with, but it was nothing terrible, right? He lived past it. But it's like, oh, okay, well, if you calibrate these things, right, it could be a non-lethal way of subduing a bad guy, right? Okay, I could just use it to blast you backward, like a repulsor ray or something, right? Yeah. I can blow something up with it, or I can, you know, send you backwards into a trash can or something with it, right?
Or de-age you. Yeah.
Or de-age you, right? But the same lasers that it generates though is what we use to like remove tumors and stuff today, right? So it's like she's thinking, oh man, all the good we can do in the world with this, right? Medical purposes, you know, environmental and stuff. But the first thing that we go to is like, let's weaponize it, dadgummit. And so the company that she's working for is like, yeah, let's do that. And she's like, uh-oh, I could literally bring about the end of the solar system if somebody screws up with this. I have to remove my data, my research, and figure out who has it by doing what I don't want them to do with it and use it as a weapon. So
we
that's
have to steal the Declaration of Independence to prevent them from stealing the Declaration of Independence.
Exactly.
Eric's favorite movie.
That's the favorite movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the only things Sean Bean is in that he doesn't die in. Like, let's go.
Right. That and like one other thing.
Right.
Because if Sean Bean's in it.
Sean Bean's in it. He's dang there. It's inevitable he's going to die. That's an absolute point.
He was completely miscast as Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. I'm like, you already gave away what's going to happen to him.
Right.
Like, we didn't watch this show, but we know.
Oh, Sean Bean's in it? Oh, he dead. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, I already read the books, so I knew what was going to happen. But even before that, I'm like, oh, that's horrible. Like, that's pointless. Why would you cast him? I already gave you the answer.
Right. You cast him. Spoiler alert. He's dead.
Like, if you cast with Sean Bean at this point, you need to subvert expectations.
Right. But then, yeah, the last character we talked about already was her character, Admani. And then, yeah, so that's those four characters are our initial roster.
And then Tales from Midnight 2 will have the 3 other stories.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Yeah, Tales from Midnight 2 will have some more of the roster. Again, so The Last Day will be in there. Another story we're working on called Dogma will be in there. And then Raven's Omen will be in there. Which, yeah, that's something that me and my dad actually have been off and on working on for some time. As a character idea he had, and it was just like, well, let's make something happen. So basically his character is a raven mocker from native indigenous folklore in history. Basically it was this really feared thing that usually old people or people that were sick were scared of. What happened is this raven mocker fed off those energies. It would basically rip their heart out without even leaving a scar or any mass, eat that to take the rest of their vitality and kind of dip out. So we were just like, okay, well, what if, you know, instead of just limiting it to them dealing with, old people, sick people and stuff like that, what if this guy, you know, also Batman, what if he was going after, you know, I am vengeance, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if he's going after the bad guys? It's just like, okay, well, I need this to live. You're a bad guy. This is how I rectify killing people to survive.
Yeah.
Right. So what does he look like to the public eye? Because, nope, not going to say that part. How does that look like to the public? Mass murders, but I'm a good guy? We'll be exploring that.
Nice.
Dogma is going to be following. So, of course, again, you've been seeing the lore, the religious stuff. So this one is following our interpretation of Christians,
Ooh.
right? So,
I can imagine.
it's good. So
No, it's good.
it's oh man, it's good. So we'll even how to say I'm trying not to spoil.
Yeah, don't spoil.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own power.
Everybody has their own power because again, in like Christianity, everybody has their gifts, right? So the abilities and the degree in which they're able to use the abilities will vary on their faith.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Interesting.
yeah, there we go. That's a nice way of saying it. There we go.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait to read any of these.
Man, I will say, I guess this will be spoiled. The first one that you'll see, the first enemy that they face is Legion. And that's all I'll say. So if you know your Bible history, anything like that, or who or what that is, so that's going to be interesting. And then, yeah, nope, I almost did it.
Don't do it.
There we go. Boom. All right.
You said Dogma.
Said Dogma. We said Raven's Omen, and then the other one is The Last Day, in which those characters.
You need to get started on. Like,
I'm supposed to be drawing that one. Pray for me.
he's a fine
But I think I started to say that it's going to be kind of a retelling of the Gilgamesh story, but there's still more to it, of course, obviously. But that's the generalization. But in the issue that I'll talk about the characters with their powers. Essentially, they receive this power to defend themselves. One young lady, she is. It starts off with them in high school, and then eventually, and I don't feel like we stay in.
We don't have. Well, first off, we don't have a lot of characters who are
in high school
under 18,
right?
And the characters we do have, in Monty and the Last Day characters, it's pretty much for like an arc, and then
everybody's grown. But starting there, like she has these aspirations to be a bodybuilder, right? And she's doing all this stuff, but some tragic events happen, unfortunate circumstances that are pivotal to the story happen. And what ends up happening is she's given this enchanted weapon, which we call the Sword of Cachexia, right? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Cachexia, there we go. And basically what happens is when they're fighting these beings and monsters and stuff, right? When she slices one, it siphons their energy. It causes muscle dystrophy to the enemy that she's facing. And it adds to her own strength and body as almost a steroid.
Wow.
Right? So, all right, what happens if she decides not to do that? What happens when you come off steroids? Right? And so you're just pumping steroids into your body as you're fighting against these this enemy that you're going against through the course of your story. What happens when you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to go back to a normal life? Can you though? Now you're kind of stuck in either do this or lose your entire hope and dream of becoming this bodybuilder, becoming, your career aspiration. So this story will really be focused on power with a cost.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah.
When can people expect these? The first issue and the second issue. Do you know, like, have a final date? Yes.
The Tales from Midnight 1 will be officially out November 1st. Pre-orders are happening now. For that, midnightcomics.org, of course. And so that's so that's this year, November 1st, in the next couple weeks here. Tales from Midnight 2, I'm projecting about the same time next year. But we also have the next issue of The Unbeloved dropping in January. So we'll start pre-orders and all that other stuff for that soon. Soul is actually going to be teaming up with some other indie characters coming up here soon. I believe that's going to be dropping some point next year as well. It's called we're working with this guy, Vince White. He has a universe called the Powerverse. And his hope is basically to bring together indie characters under just the umbrella of indie. Right, because us separately, we're not going to match the DCs and the Marvels. But if we all kind of band together under the umbrella of indie, right? And so now there's always a constant flow of content and stuff. And then you have events with all of them popping up, hence his Powerverse super team that he's doing right now. You're like, oh, I recognize this character. Oh, I've seen this. Well, where else can I see Soul at? Oh, we'll pick up Tales from Midnight. Oh, okay, cool. What about this other character that's from this other creator over here? There's always a slew of comics in this rabbit hole of indie comics that you can go to. So,
and we make sure we keep everybody updated on everything on our mailing list.
On the mailing list.
What we have coming out, whether it be the super team, whether an event we're going to. Like we make sure we send out a monthly newsletter, and then we occasionally send out other stuff on the newsletter. So.
Oh, cool. How do people sign
But
up?
Just go to the website and scroll down and sign up for our mailing list.
Should say subscribe at the bottom of the site, and then you just drop your email.
Nice.
Yep,
So far, we've been consistent at the very least with the monthly newsletter.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm really excited about that because it's planned to be a 3-part series in which he's already halfway through this. We're 5 pages away from the second issue being completed, and I'm if I remember correctly, he's trying to release all 3 of them at the same time.
I think so.
So you're getting the power. It's called the Powers That Be Super Team, and issues 1, 2, and 3. I'm assuming is coming out all at the same time. Hold on, where's that? I will show a picture. I will show the cover picture really quick. It's so awesome. So the great thing is, because I'm so glad we were able to get Tales from Midnight done, because as Soul's issue 1 ends, the Powers That Be Super Team starts. So you literally see Soul. You turn the page, the last page on Soul. You pick that book up. Boom, you're continuing right from there.
Nice.
Here we go. I don't know if you guys can see that all that well.
We can see it.
But all those characters are all from different indie creators. Soul is on the right here on this side of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What's that called again? Just say.
The Powers That Be Super Team.
Powers That Be Super Team.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And yeah, you can look up Vince White or Powerverse on Facebook or Vinny Tunes on Instagram, and he has all that stuff on there. So I really like the idea of just kind of banding together with all these indie creators and keeping your universes intact.
Yeah.
Right? Like none of this is going to affect any storyline the way that he's writing this is amazing. Like it's not going to affect anybody's canon, anybody's storylines. It's I ain't gonna spoil it. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's almost like an Avengers version of indie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. How did you get involved in that?
Man, luck. So
Indiegogo?
Yeah, so how I ran into him, he does these is my blue binder right there? Right there? You left?
Yes.
Okay, so he had an Indiegogo going, and I just happened to see it. I think we was in the same group or something. And basically he's creating he has the indie deck, right? So it's trading cards of all these various indie characters.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we bought in and we got 4 of our characters in this deck.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool. So this ended up being 69 cards, right? Of just various indie characters. I was like,
Did he draw them, or like who drew that?
And he drew all of them. He drew
okay.
all of them. He had somebody else color it, but he drew all of them.
Wow.
And when you you buy it, he's doing another one right now. This is the silver edition. He's got the fire edition going on now. And yeah, I mean, it's just you get to, and what you do is you get to see the backstory for each of the characters, the power levels, if you would. So he has when you're doing your little Google form explaining the characters, he has this kind of, can they move planets, skyscrapers? Can they take gunshots, or can they survive entropy? Right, like they, gauging the powers and stuff. So it has a stats list on the back. Asks what the first appearance of the character is. Like, oh, okay. Oh, Soul issue 1 is his first appearance. Okay, cool. Or Tales from Midnight is the first appearance. Bam.
Nice.
Who made it? Instead of getting the company name, he gets the person's name, right? Because that can change hands, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Lloyd and Natasha made this. Natasha made Edmani. Lloyd made so on and so forth. And so now it's like, oh, you can go and look these people up. Okay, what do they have going on? Let me see more of their characters.
Yeah.
And so,
sure.
And it's great because we have so many characters with A names that we like pretty much
put in. Yeah, that first page is like, boom.
So everyone rename your characters.
It's like, who was that? All Midnight Comics. What's up? But yeah, it's good to see. Yeah, so that's how we met him. Just happened to back one of the campaigns, and it was just like, yo, you do good work. And then he had this sale on his doing comic covers. I think he charged like $20 for comic book covers. I was like, oh, say less. So these initial This he did. The cover for Soul, he did. All the interior covers,
Oh my
he
God.
did. I'm like, $20.
Yeah.
He also did the title cards. Those were $25 a pop. I'm like, so yeah. This he did that I was like, set it up, man. You got this.
That's a great rate. Yeah, that's a great rate.
We did the logo.
So
the logo that we have now.
but then after these frequent he did all he redid our
we used to have a different
logo.
Oh wow.
So after all of these interactions with him, he was just like, so, question for you, let me get your honest opinion. What would you think if I tried to do a super team with all these indie creators? I'm like, well, I don't know what they're gonna say, but we in. That sounds awesome. So, from there, that relationship kind of grew, and here we are.
That's a cool thing about indie creators, I think, too, is that like we're more likely to share ideas, right? Whereas like everything maybe in the bigs are like copyright protection, and that's my that's my money maker,
And
or like,
unfortunately, you do run into some of that with this, because there's a lot of people that's like, oh well, I don't want to, and of course I'm like, oh, I don't want to spoil nothing,
right?
But you'll have the other side of the coin where people will be like, nah, I don't want to tell you none of that because you're gonna steal my idea. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know, the amount of energy it takes to steal someone's idea. You just ran us through a million ideas, and I have I love all those ideas. Could I write all those ideas? Yes. Do I have any energy to do any of that? Hell no. No, I'd have to do all the research you did. I'd have to do all the character, I'd have to come up with stories, because you didn't tell me any stories. You just told me cool stuff, like a lot of cool stuff.
Then when you think about it, once it's written down, it's technically already protected. So
Poor man's copyright,
exactly.
right? It's just like, okay, well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. Don't get me started on that argument. That ridiculousness. Yeah.
We're very much in the side of rising tides make all boats float, not the rising tides I sink your ship.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. But then, if somebody took your character and just if he went off and made like $100 million on Soul, being part of this team, I think you'd be kind of pissed off.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about it, though, because when it's done, we all can sell it on our own individual sites.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you all have like a joint ownership. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
And it's crazy to me. I think you can tell the difference of. Let me not say that. Here we go. I know the difference. I've only spent. We spend $50 a month to get these pages done.
Yeah.
We've run into people that charge $200 a page, right? Mm-hmm. So that's to me that he's getting his at this price is amazing to me. Because to get Tales from Midnight done, it was $70 for artwork. It was for color and drawing was $70+ a page.
Yeah.
So you're telling me because in the promise, right, it's $50 a page, $50 a month. He's hoping to get an issue done every 2 months.
Wow. Yeah.
What? So $100 gets an issue with my character in it. Is what you're telling me? That's amazing.
Yeah. That you can sell, right? That
right.
Also, you can sell it on your site.
That you can turn around and sell.
That you can.
You can't beat that.
Yeah. No.
You can't beat that. The Unbeloved, I think that was $1,200 total to get done.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So you're telling me $100 and I'll pay for the year. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me pay for the year. You're good.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely amazing. So and then to turn around and be able to be like, oh, I'm selling it on my website. Here you go. If we want to go and get print versions, that's on us. But digital, it's available. Boom, it's done. Here, buy it. Mm-hmm. What price are we agreeing on, guys? Here, so we don't, undercut each other. But everything's on the same website. Call it a day.
Yeah.
You can't beat that, man. And more exposure for your character in case you don't. Come on.
So you guys still use Fiverr at all, or
that's our only link to the guy for the Unbeloved.
Okay, cool.
Fiverr. We did try to get some audio of some voiceovers on Fiverr as well for the characters in the Unbeloved. But yeah, so we still do use Fiverr. The people that did Tales from Midnight, however, we met on Instagram. And of course, Vince White, we met on Facebook, but but yeah, we met them on Instagram. But occasionally, yeah, we do still use Fiverr for Unbeloved.
Oh,
so.
cool. Okay. Yeah, is it different working off Fiverr versus on
Yes.
Fiverr? Is it like
Yes, because if I do Instagram and here I am, I'm like, hey, because I would much rather pay you and it be in the background, right? With Fiverr, I could do that. I could pay you if I don't get my stuff. The money was taken and held by Fiverr essentially, and if you don't provide the stuff in the allotted time, I can take it back.
Yeah.
And get my money back. If I meet you on Instagram,
yeah,
and I sent you somebody up, I sent you somebody on PayPal or whatever. You could disappear tomorrow and be like, oops.
Yeah.
There goes my X amount of dollars.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a big trust leap, reputation. Yeah.
Exactly. But we got lucky. No horror stories here. So the people that we've worked with off Instagram have been a true delight. Serge DeLima is the guy that did the entire interior for Tales from Midnight. We saw his work for some other indie guys that have utilized his services, and we were like, oh my gosh, this guy is awesome. And at first we were gonna have different artists for each story, but once he started really working and getting into it, we was like, you're the guy, here's the rest, go ahead and make it happen. When the actual character stories start, there are some specific artists that we want for some specific things. She touched on it for Admani, but for this was fine. Just like he's gonna be if he's available. I want him to be the artist for Soul when he has the time to. Mm-hmm. But there'll probably be different art styles for other characters. But Instagram hasn't disappointed too terribly with this artist and the colorist.
The next hope is to kind of try to go more local.
Go local. That'll be the next thing.
Artists in and around the Metro Atlanta area.
Which we have for character designs. We've worked with some local folks. A gentleman by the name of CJ. We went to an event for the kids.
We went to an event for the school system.
For the school system.
Because my mom.
And he does
for the school system.
He acts and he does these what's the company? They dress up as the characters. Superheroes and all that other stuff.
It is called.
And it's in there?
It was in one of these. Oh, it's in here.
Oh.
It's called
Mystical Parties, yeah. And so we met him, and then we started just kind of talking about comics and stuff. My mother-in-law brought up that we do comics. She's like, "Oh, I draw." And we was like, "Well, I need some character designs. What's up?" So paid him, and he gave us some character designs. So we want to start kind of working in the community for any, getting people in the community that's nearby, and get some stuff out, but also help build their portfolio out and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
nice.
Cool. Thanks. Where can everyone find you again?
Midnightcomics.org.
Midnightcomics.org.
Yes.
All your comics are available there. You can subscribe to them, all that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, subscribe to our monthly newsletter or to our newsletter at the bottom of the page. Find the pre-orders, find the manga that's already out, find preview chapters.
Yeah, we have previews for each of the books.
Each chapter on there. See stuff about all the characters that we currently have stuff for. Okay, well, almost all the characters we currently have stuff for. We need to update, add a few more on there. Yeah, all the information is right there.
Cool. You also have a Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff.
YouTube, yeah.
YouTube.
Everything is Midnight Comics. The only thing that's Midnight X Comics is Twitter and Instagram.
And the clock, the tick of time.
Oh, and TikTok.
TikTok. Okay.
Midnight X Comics.
Midnight X Comics. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. If you ever want to come back and talk about your upcoming projects, just let us know.
They like us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little speechless because you talk so much, and it was all just really interesting.
Thank you.
No, I don't want to interrupt this guy. He's like, he's doing this thing. This is like, I want to ask like how you have the time to come up with like to write all this stuff and but you're clearly just thinking constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah. I mean, you're even thinking when you're sleeping. We already went over that.
Yeah.
Right.
Thinking while you're sleeping. Yeah.
It never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
There was a
Natasha.
time we were sitting there just we were watching YouTube or Netflix, and I was just like, I got it. And went through the whole thing of the last day, like chapter 1, this happens, chapter 2 is and did the whole series. And she was just sitting there staring at me like, okay, but can we go to bed now though?
And then when we go to bed, can I go to bed? Because you in your dreams.
Right.
Oh gosh. Does he?
I've been awoken in the middle of the night by screams.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't, when you're falling or whatever, and you hit the ground, and you wake up. I don't wake up. So it's like boom,
Ooh.
and then she gets scared because I sound like I stopped breathing or something.
You'd be screaming.
I do.
Yeah, you got to come back and at least talk about that. So,
Okay.
Lloyd, Natasha, thank you so much for coming on. Find us
Thank you
stuff
so
at
much.
midnightcomics.org. And
Yeah.
we'll talk to you soon.